All right. We are officially live. Sorry for the delay, fellas. I was working with my man. My guest is having a little bit of technical difficulty, so as soon as he hops in here, I'm gonna let him in the stream, and then we can get started. But his computer was like kind of lagging out for some reason. He should be back in a second. Then I'm gonna let him right in. But we're gonna cover basically. The title was called "How to Build Self-Awareness." So we're gonna really cover that in depth today. It looks like he just jumped on, so we're gonna go ahead and let my man in. Oscar, what's up, man? Hey, man, we just went live, brother.
Hey, what's going on, Tino? How you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I was just telling people we were kind of fixing the technical difficulties here, but it looks like you're stable now.
Yeah, man, sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, I had to switch over. I'm on my phone now, so
Nice.
if it's working, it works, right? So
It looks yeah, the quality looks good, so it looks like you're tapped in, man.
cool.
Real quickly too, if people that don't know you, just like kind of briefly explain like who you are, what you do, what and why you do what you do.
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Oscar. Man, I got. The reason why what I do what it is what I do is I got two young boys, 15 and 12, and
Mm,
at an early age in their lives, I wasn't the father that they deserved. I wasn't
mm,
the person who I needed to be for them. And that came with a lot of hardship. Like when I learned the lesson, I learned the lesson by living it. And so, what I do now is a lot of my content is catered around our self-sabotaging ways. And one of them is alcohol, porn, and toxic relationships, which is something that I have extensive amount of experience dealing with with people with continuously sabotaging who I was as a man.
mm,
And so now, to put it in context on this, a friend of mine, their brother-in-law passed away. He actually committed suicide. I didn't know the guy, but he committed suicide because of being in a very negative relationship, and he was doing things to self-harm himself. And a thought came into me. I was like, I could have done something. I didn't know who the guy was. I actually ended up going to his funeral, but because he was close to somebody that I love, I was like, I could have shared something that could perhaps would have shifted a mindset in him. And being a man, that really like I can do more. I can speak. I can share my voice in order to create mind shifts around what as men are holding in that's keeping us from fulfilling ourselves to a higher level.
mm. Damn, that's powerful, man. I picked up on what you were saying about self-sabotage because that's a big thing, and I literally just made a video about that. It's funny you even mention it. Um, how like before we get into the main topic, because I mean it does all kind of relate to what we're talking about here, but how how uh how much of a like a speed bump is that self-sabotage? Like, does that you think that gets in the way of a lot of men when it comes to trying to better themselves?
Yeah, so it's really the it's I think for men, they see like a shiny object, and an undisciplined man
Yeah.
will grab the shiny object, it'll disintegrate in their hands, and they'll look for another shiny object.
Mm.
And they'll and they did have you ever heard of the marshmallow experiment?
I think it sounds familiar, but maybe not exactly.
Yeah. So years ago, they conducted a study where they told kids, like the group of in a room, and they gave kids like, okay, look, I'm gonna leave you alone. There's gonna be a marshmallow on the table. If you don't grab it when I come back, I'll give you two marshmallows.
Oh yeah, I did think I hear about this. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So for a lot of men, well, anyways, the experiment went on to like the kids who did grab the marshmallow, they came back in like 20 years later and find out how they were in their life. And a lot of them weren't as successful as the kids who actually waited.
Mm.
Right. So if you prolong your success from instant gratification, a lot of men go towards that instant gratification.
Yep.
Oh, she looks hot. Let me go ahead and just like call this, babe over who perhaps is not a high quality woman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Alcohol, drugs, porn, instant gratification. So for us men, if you can prolong your instant gratification for like later success, I mean, that's just, you can reap the rewards throughout life in any areas of your life.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%. And that's something I try to preach on this channel is to delay that gratification, like do hard things. You got to build that discipline because on the other side of that is going to be true fulfillment and true long-term gratification. Because I agree with you. I think right now we're in a society where everything's like instant, instant. You can like order food at the tip of your fingertips. You can, satisfy your sexual urges by going on porn or like OnlyFans, just like instantly, and
Right.
everything's super, super quick. I was literally just talking about this, I think, on a last live stream, but it's so true. And kind of to tie it back to self-awareness, to put that piece in there, like how does that, well, I guess how does self-awareness, do you think, plays into that that short-term satisfaction? Because I feel like some guys are just like completely unaware of the fact that that's happening.
Yeah. So I use this like an analogy, right? Like, why do we have mirrors? Like, why do we wake up? Why do we have mirrors in our bathroom, in our house? It's so we can have a point of self-reflection to adjust anything from our self-image before
Mm,
we step out into the world. Self-reflection is really just that. You want to take and observe yourself without any type of judgment and any type of like just opinion, but just by looking.
mhm.
Self-awareness is where, like, it's like, it's funny how people who try to lose weight and they never step on a scale.
Yeah.
Like they're afraid. They're like, I've literally met people who don't want to buy a scale. It's like, oh, I just want to lose 5 pounds. Like, 5 pounds from what?
Right.
Right. So once you can take a look at yourself, either different methods such as meditation, journaling, counseling, or even a brother or a family relative, and point of self-reflection and a safe space, that's so powerful because you can now make a plan. You can have an end point. You can have like your journey. And the thing is, the journey is never going to end, which is beautiful. It's just going to take you like, okay, my next level or my next step looks like this from this point.
Mhm. Yeah, like it just kind of takes one step at a time. And I love what you said in there. It kind of delves into a little bit of accountability too, right? And making sure that you know where you're at until you take that step, because it's hard to like you said, if you're trying to lose weight right now, for example, but you don't know where you're starting from, it's going to make that whole process like 10 times harder. And I think a lot of guys, and maybe you were there at one point, I know that I probably was, were just like afraid to maybe admit where they were, like admit their faults or some of the things that are maybe holding them back. So how, I guess, yeah, I guess like how much do you think that gets in the way of some guys just being like completely transparent with themselves? Do you think it's out of fear or out of like maybe judgment of others?
Yeah. So, as a guy, as a man, we try, we hear the word vulnerability. We're
Yeah.
oh, no,
Mhm.
that's for women. But when you can say, like, I'll bring Alcoholic Anonymous, for example, or any like 12-step group, the first thing is to admit to yourself. Because when you can admit to yourself, I have a porn addiction, I am an alcoholic, I am in an abusive relationship, I am, followed with whatever it is of like point of reflection, you're actually meeting yourself. And when you meet yourself, you're meeting the most important person in that room.
Mm.
And once you have that person in that room, the most important person in that room, you can have whatever conversation you need to have. So admitting to yourself is a point of vulnerability, but
Mhm.
power.
Mm.
And that's where everything gets created. When someone can say, "Hey, I'm an alcoholic. Hey, I have a porn addiction. Hey, um, I indulge in activities like damn, there you go. Now,
Mhm.
man. You know, now if you have somebody who can like hold space for you or admit it to yourself in a safe way without, you know, without any inflicting any type of negative self-talk, like God, man, I'm such an idiot. Oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm such a weak person, or like, oh my God, I'm such a loser. Like, man, that's not gonna. You're only gonna go down.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can say, man, I'm an alcoholic, I know I can do better, or I am going to do better, or I am going to, you know, find ways to not watch porn or, you know, fap, you know, that's like that's soil for growth right there in a man.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you're spot on. I literally just made a video about that too, like saying you have to admit that you have an issue if you want to change it or if you want to fix it. Because like the worst thing you can do is to be totally unaware of it, not know your triggers, and then like go in circles trying to find out what's wrong. Like you have to admit it. And I agree. I think that's really the first step or one of the first steps. Um, but you bring up an interesting point about vulnerability because I agree. I think it is powerful when you can come from a place of like honesty, authenticity with yourself. Sometimes though, I think guys hear that word vulnerability and they get scared. And they're like, "Uh-oh, that's weakness. That makes me seem weak." So like in your opinion, how is that, because I agree, I'm kind of on the same page with you. How do you think that's more of a strength than it is a weakness in your opinion?
God, you know, we live in a culture, even more so now, of filters,
Yeah.
which hinders the truth.
Mm.
You know, I was actually doing a video last night and I was like mixing with the editing, and one of the editing kind of like covered up a sunspot. I'm like, well, that's not cool. That's not me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So vulnerability is the truth.
Mm.
There's nothing more powerful than acknowledging it and expressing it.
Mhm.
Because if you have like, you know, I don't have a problem, and you're opening up your 8th can of beer at 2 p.m., you know, as
Mhm.
opposed to like, I just missed picking up my kid from daycare because I'm too drunk to get out of the couch.
Mm.
I need help.
Mhm.
That's that's vulnerability where the people around you will start to affect their lives. When you
Mhm.
can admit something as a man, like I think you and I talked about this, the thing that's gonna like hinder society the most is having a weak man at home.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so when man can embrace vulnerability, which is really just another word of saying the truth,
Right.
right? That I mean, with that, now you can like take your power. You can take your power, and now you can create things. You can build things. As man, that's what we, you know, we're intended to do, is to build and create and protect.
Right. I agree 100%, dude. I think it is really truth when you think about it. It's not like you're, because I think guys get confused when they hear vulnerability. They think vulnerability is like sulking in a corner, like feeling sorry for yourself and like throwing pity parties and stuff like that, which it really isn't. Like I don't think any of that's vulnerability. I think that on its own is like it's just sulking. It's like, it's kind of being defeat. It's like defeatist mindset. Um, but what you're describing, vulnerability, it sounds like it is a true strength. It's like admitting, yeah, I need to fix this and I'm gonna make it happen. So I think like guys need to take the approach of admitting the truth to themselves, even when it's uncomfortable and when it's ugly, because most of the time when it does affect other people, like you were saying, sometimes you're gonna have other people tell you, "Hey, you need to change something," but it's only gonna work when you admit it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Because even though you like, it's this is a kind of a good point in itself. As man, if who have hard time using the word vulnerability, just replace it. Just
Yeah,
replace it with what's your truth,
right.
and you can apply that statement, and it would replace vulnerability in any form of way. For example,
Mm,
like just say you're with like a woman you've been dating, and you don't want to like express yourself or your feelings, right?
mhm,
But just replace it with what's your truth in this relationship.
yeah.
uh, what's your truth in yourself? Like, what's your truth in how you feel about your career path? What's your truth in how you feel about your health? Right? Because
Mhm.
someone would say like, yeah, you know what, I'm overweight and I feel sad about it and I don't want to make any changes. That's someone's truth,
Right.
right? So there's having truth, and again, there's expressing your truth, even if it's to yourself. That
Mhm.
in itself is like vulnerability, but you don't have to use the word, hey, I'm being vulnerable right now. Hey, I'm expressing my truth right now.
Mhm.
It's still the same race. It's just like you're just labeling it in a different way.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like I think that word just like triggers certain guys because they, like you were saying earlier, it's associated a lot more with women, and we think that that's, it comes off as soft or weak or passive. But I agree, like just switching the label from that to truth is probably going to be more effective, but it's literally the same exact thing, in my opinion. Um, I was going to say something about that too. I guess, yeah, like, tying it back to self-awareness now too, with speaking your truth, and I think this kinda ties beautifully back into it. If you're not self-aware, I don't even think someone's gonna know what their truth is, like, they're gonna just be kinda mindlessly going on autopilot trying to figure out, "Well, what do I have to change? What do I have to improve on?" I think, like, if you don't have that foundation layer of self-awareness, you're not even gonna be able to express that truth, would you agree?
Right, absolutely. So it for me, it kind of comes down to how connected you are.
Yeah.
How connected you are to your mind, how connected you are to your body, how well connected are you are to your spirit. And disconnection can happen at a very slow pace,
Mhm.
but you add on time, and next thing you know, like in a matter of like weeks, months, years, you're completely disconnected, and
Mhm.
you didn't even realize it. So are you connected within your mind? Like, how are your thoughts? How's your self-talk? Are you connected to your body? Are you just staying at home, laying, playing Call of Duty in your couch? Are you disconnected from your spirit? Are you like, smoking weed? Are you just like, doing drugs? Are you doing alcohol to compensate for feelings that you're not able to connect within yourself?
Mm.
So that disconnection, especially for men, like even again adding vulnerability to it, because vulnerability and being connected, you never find a man say, "Man, you know what? I'm very disconnected today."
No, nobody says that.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
How connected am I? Here's a tool that I use, and I've been implementing it on a daily basis. I ask myself four questions, and one is, what on a scale from 1 through 10, what's my self esteem today?
Mm.
Right? I mean, you can ask yourself, anybody who's hearing this, listening to this, ask yourself on 1 through 10, where's my self esteem? And I ask myself that question, like, man, today's a 7, today's an 8, today's a 5, today's a 9. And then
Mm.
I ask myself, okay, on a scale from 1 through 10, where's my level of masculinity today? Right? So
Mm.
if I'm like home watching Netflix, as opposed to like going out, I don't, even if I'm riding my motorcycle with my group of friends, like, or if I'm working on my side business. The third thing I ask myself is, what's my level of hunger, 1 through 10? Because as a man, you need hunger. You got to be hungry for something, and you're
Fact.
always hungry for something. You're either hungry for Netflix, you're hungry for
Mm.
porn, you're hungry for women, or you're hungry for like building that side business. You're hungry for like getting those gains at the gym. You're hungry. You're hungry for like helping your brother out. You're hungry for something.
Yeah.
And then the last question I ask myself is, what's my level of mediocrity, 1 through 10?
Mm.
And the lower the number, the better.
Mhm.
But if I'm like, again, I use this as a reference. If someone's at home playing video games, if someone's at home just like going through their phone, like, is that really like, how mediocre are you being right now? How basic are you being right now? And it's okay to rest. It's okay to have your downtime. But
Sure.
again, that slow, consistent habit throughout time,
Mhm.
you start to create that disconnection within yourself.
Mm. Those are gems. Those are gem questions, and if anybody's watching this, I highly recommend go back, watch that part again because, like, those are fantastic questions to ask yourself, like, every single day just to check in. I might start doing that with myself with those. That was great.
Yeah,
Um,
and to bring in
that
an accountability, I actually got this from Donald Glover, No More Mr. Nice Guy. I don't know if you
okay.
read the book or have heard of the book,
I've heard of it. Yeah, yeah.
but he's got a like an accountability type, you know, person.
Mm,
Twice a day, get with your brother, and I chime in with one of my good friends, and we send each other like this because we hold each other accountable. All
mhm.
right, my level of hunger today is an 8. My masculinity as a 7. My self-esteem as an 8. You know, so we just keep each other intact on where we at. So I mean, if you're gonna ask yourself that question, make sure you share it with somebody else.
Mhm. No, that's true. I saw a stat somewhere that said, like, when you tell, yourself something or you write down your goals or whatever, you have, like, a statistically, you have, like, a 40-50% chance of it actually happening, something
Yeah,
like that. But
yeah,
then if you tell somebody that you're gonna do something and you tell them, "Hey, like, hold me accountable to this," like, if I tell, a friend of mine, "Hey, like, make sure I go to the gym this day," it jumps up to, like, an 80 to 90% chance of that actually happening. So it's like, it really is powerful to have that accountability partner. But, I wanted to touch on that piece that you were just talking about hunger, 'cause, I've said this in previous videos. I'm definitely gonna make some more videos about it in the future, but I think what you said is, like, completely spot on with that men are just, like, hardwired to be just hungry towards something. Like you said, it's either a video game or, you know, if it's in the weight room, if it's building a business, if it's building, I don't know, your Minecraft character or like Fortnite, whatever it is, there's something that we feel called to build or to dedicate time to see that growth. And I just think every guy has that in them, but they're not always using it the right way. So, in your opinion, like, where do you think a lot of that hunger is being spent in men today? Like, it's just in a general sense.
um, man. So in order to answer that question, you kind of have to ask yourself how how much have we actually been fed where where it minimizes our ability to be hungry, as in we have so much instant gratification our way that
Mhm.
we've kind of missed out on what hungry is.
Mhm.
I'll give you
That's
an
true.
example. So I have a friend, a good friend of mine. He didn't finish high school, but he's
Mm.
one of the most successful people that I know. I think it's like right now it's Saturday. He's on his boat on the lake right now.
That's dope.
Yeah, but his hunger came in the form of not having nothing.
Mm.
He was eating an apple, like during a break, packing boxes. That was the only job he could have, and he was so ashamed to be out, but with his coworkers, that he was like he put himself like he went to the bathroom, closed the door, took out an apple, and he's like, I'll never be this poor again.
Mm.
And that hunger came from not having nothing,
Mhm.
right? So now that as man, we can literally, oh man, I'm gonna smash a dime piece, pull up a website, pull up Pornhub, your dopamine kicks in because you
Yep.
just had self gratification of interacting with a hot woman. If you want like community, you don't even have to go out there anymore. You can just get on Call of Duty or whatever video game. It's like, oh, I'm
True.
talking to my bros. You didn't even make eye contact, but
Yeah, right.
your brain's intercepting like, oh, you already have community. Like, no, go out
Mhm.
there and build a community with like actual people. Like again, I
Mhm.
reference my motorcycles. Like I have a community of me and my motorcycle friends. Like we'll meet up and we'll travel. We'll be outdoors. Be out in nature. When you engage with things that are like connecting back to yourself, that connect back to your mind, your body, your spirit, it starts to expand hunger. Hunger is like a muscle. It just keeps growing and growing
Mm,
and growing. Even if it's like, you know what, my level of hunger today is a 2, but I'm gonna put on my shoes and I'm gonna take a walk.
mm,
The next day, my level of hunger is a 3 or 4. I'm gonna put on my shoes, but now this time instead of a walk, I'm gonna take a jog. You
mm,
do that throughout time, your level of hunger is gonna be like an 8. Like, man, I just ran 2 miles nonstop throughout the neighborhood, and I saw a cutie, and I actually just smiled at her. But now you're incorporating your mind, your body, your spirit, because your body's involved. You're interacting with nature, and you're interacting with a whole different community. Let's just say he actually stopped and made friends, or he even smiled, or asked what time it was for this girl, just so you can have some sort of interaction. That throughout time, replacing your game controller with your
mm.
actual tennis shoes and nature and people, you'll become a whole different person. They're like, man, yeah, I just ran a marathon. Man, I just did the mud run. So
Mhm.
now you're creating your identity based on your level of hunger that you established yourself in developing.
Mm. That was well said, man, and I think, kind of, like, bringing that to light a little bit too with the video games because 'cause we're on this subject, and I've had my very, various stints with video games in my lifetime. I definitely was addicted at one point, even sometimes I still find myself coming back to it. Um, but something that I think that, game developers know about men and how we're just instinctively wired, which ties to what you're saying, is like that addiction that men have to video games, 'cause more men are addicted to video games than women. I mean, there's a way higher player base that are males than females, and that's just obvious, but I think the reason that it is that way is because that addiction to video games really comes from you seeing your character level up. You seeing that investment that you're putting in, it's paying off in some way. You're getting stronger gear, better character, like better traits, better skills. And like that, I think is what is making it so addicting for men to come back to because they see that progress. And like that's what masculinity is seeing that improvement, seeing that growth. And it's like it's so crazy, like you just said, if you just shift that mindset to, okay, now I'm gonna spend less time on video games, less time on my character, and start leveling up my own character, my real life character. Like just imagine where that'll take you. It's crazy.
Yeah, and let's bring in self-awareness back to that, like how you said.
Yeah.
So let's just ask ourselves, where were we 6 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
Where were you a year ago? And let's just take our own actual real life avatar.
Yeah.
In what areas of your life did you progress? How much money is there more in your savings account or that you're investing? What's your body fat percentage now from a year ago?
Mm-hmm.
What does your relationships look like? Yeah, great. Your avatar in the video game has like has millions in his bank account, has a whole garage full of cars. But what does your garage look like?
Right.
And not that cars are supposed to be a status symbol. Like for me, like my cars, my motorcycles, things that I buy. It's not the status itself. It's how much work and effort and enrollment I applied in my life that I was able to acquire that.
Mhm.
That's what is like. That's for me. That's what it shows. Like even like your body itself is like the best status symbol you can have
It is, yeah.
because you can't buy that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like your avatar in Y2K, you can like be at the gym. You can take them to the gym, and you start to level up. But okay, what about your body? If somebody like you show me someone who's you can show me someone's body, and I'll tell you how much dedication and discipline they have in their own life.
That's a fact. That's a fact, and I literally was talking about this with another guy on another show about, like yeah, we were talking about looks, but specifically, I was talking about, like, fitness and, like, your physique and stuff like that, and guys get really caught up in the physique and the looks department because they think, "Well, women are really attracted to the big muscles and, like, a cut up dude," and it's like, yeah, you're not wrong, but, like, they're more attracted to what you were just saying. Like, it's the fact that you have a nice body, a good physique shows you have discipline, you have consistency, you have dedication, you can focus on something at one point and for a long period of time. Like, it just demonstrates that you're a guy that has these other character qualities, these other positive qualities. Now, yeah, obviously the physical looks dope, and like that's gonna do a little bit for you when it comes to just, let's say, attraction in general. But the fact that you can do that, uh, it just shows so much about who you are as a man, and like that's just the thing that I think guys need to focus on is what that can do, who that turns you into, that process, who that man will eventually be.
Man, and now we've been talking about men, but what about women? I want to get your insight on this. So
Hmm.
I was actually thinking this. So like, yeah, it's funny with women, they can actually take a portion of body fat and
Yeah,
apply to a
yeah.
different body, part of their body. It's
Right,
like, oh,
right.
I have a bigger butt now, right? Or like, oh,
Mhm,
or my waist is slimmer now. And I'm like, okay, yeah, the aesthetics of that, like I can see how that looks pleasing, but show me a woman that made a nutrition plan, that walked on her journey going to the gym, that actually built muscle, and then show me her body. It may not
mhm.
be like as fast or as like precise, but that speaks so much more volumes of who that woman is
Yeah.
to a man. Like, if she can do that to her body, what can she do to my home? What kind of effort can she add to my life?
Mhm,
You didn't just go through like make an appointment. Okay, by Tuesday at 4 p.m., I'm gonna have a bigger ass and a slimmer waist.
mhm,
No, by this time next year, my body fat's gonna be at this number, and my measurements are gonna be at this number, and the hunger and confidence level is gonna be at this level.
I agree 100% because I know a lot of girls that say that, and I've had conversations with them. There's like, "Oh, well, you're getting, like, lip injections and, like, fat reductions," and they're, like, placing the certain fat in a different area, of their body. It's like, that might make you feel temporarily good, and, like, you'll be like, "Oh, I look better," but, like, it's not gonna build you into the type of person that is gonna actually feel fulfilled about what you're doing. Like, if I was like, you can use that same analogy for men. Um, if you just, like, inject a bunch of steroids or something into you, and, like, you kind of just, I don't know, put, like, filler into your muscles and make you look really big, like, you're gonna look decent, I guess, but you're not gonna feel confident. You're not gonna feel like you earned that, and, it kinda comes back to that instant gratification piece we were just talking about. It's like that long-term thing is always gonna pay off, in the best way.
Right, absolutely. Again, to measuring yourself, like, 6 months ago, a year ago, where are you now than 6 months back, 3 months back, a year back? And you can ask yourself, what did I build?
Mm,
You can look around your life, you can look around your room, look around your home, you look around like areas of your life, look at your relationships. What as a man did I build or help
yeah.
contribute to build?
Mm,
Um, it's interesting. Like, in your space, in your world, in your channel, in your content, you can look back at posts you've made, and and if somebody, at least one person, it's like, dang, Tino, I saw your video and it really captivated me to go do XYZ.
mhm,
That fulfillment of someone giving you like recognition because you were able to be vulnerable, speak your own truth in order to somebody else recognize your own truth.
mhm.
You can't buy that, man. There
No, you
is
can't.
nothing, and there will be things that you could replace to mimic that feeling. Like, let's say, for example, I'll go back to alcohol or any type of instant gratification. I'll go
Mm,
buy a six pack. I'll maybe go meet up with my neighbor to go be outside a barbecue, and the disorganized man will take that into another notch. Okay, now that I'm drunk, I'm gonna go get some coke. I'm gonna go smoke some weed. Now you're stacking this sense of synthetic fulfillment as
yeah.
opposed to having your community, your home, your career expand in different levels. Because again, no one that will unless you are not disciplined, that creates a breakdown. But with porn, alcohol, drugs, the breakdown comes in, and the breakdown comes after you nut, and the breakdown
Mhm.
comes whenever you have your hangover.
Yep. Like, instantly. Instantly.
Instantly, man, instantly. Those that instant gratification, that dopamine cocktail, like a mixture of serotonin,
Yeah.
vanishes. You know you bring a girl home and not having any type of like actual depth, and you smash, and next thing you know, like, all right, cool, well, that was fun, but then what do you do?
Mm. I wanna definitely touch on that piece in a second, real quick. Just want to shout out Richmond. He says it. Indeed, effort develops confidence. 1,000%. That's kind of like what we're talking about here. And guys, feel free, like anybody who's watching, if you want, throw out some questions to me, throw out some questions to Oscar. Like, feel free. You know, we're just kind of going back and forth on this right here. But anyway, back to what you were just saying about like the women thing, about like just smashing a girl real quick and then like immediately moving on from that. Like how far, and this is a deep question, but how far away from that traditional relationships culture have we gone today? Because I feel like right now everything is very to tie in that instant gratification, like very hookup culture, very quick, very less effort, not a lot of commitment is required to it. Like how far have we come as a society from that?
God, I'm listening to your question, and like, again, we made a reference to this, but it's probably the third time, but our society is dependent on how strong or how weak a man is.
Yeah, it's facts.
And that also includes the dating world, right? So
Hmm.
if you show up as a very disorganized, needy, instant gratification type man, like your relationship, your dating life, it's going to attract that or be very
Yep.
unstable. But you show up as a man who's fully present, aware, is control of his desire. He is applying actions into his life. He's not even really looking for sex. He's just looking to build on his mission and on his purpose.
Yep.
You will not find him missing, like not being invited by a beautiful woman or a woman with purpose
Literally
at all. And he doesn't even have to do anything.
nothing.
And again, it's not because I'm doing this for women, I'm doing this for me.
Hmm.
And when you do it for yourself, like that creates like a ripple effect of who you attract.
Hmm.
So how far away are we from like now to, like, I don't know, like, I think I think I think there's definitely a shift happening. There's definitely I was about to make a post about this, but the market is shifting, right? I'm not going to say, like, I'm not talking like a financial market. The market in dating is shifting. There is more content being that we're being exposed to, as far as how our mental health, how we are aligned with ourselves. There's more awareness as far as developing ourselves, that the dating world is actually going towards that route. Like,
Hmm.
a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, or even now, you see, like, okay, you're swiping right, or you're meeting women out of pure gratification of how they look or how the guy looks, right?
Hmm.
Like the status itself, the image.
Yeah.
But if you can show me a man who actually went through counseling, he actually developed a strong group of men, a woman who's been on her healing journey, who is like reflecting with her therapist, or who's handled her issues, her everybody has issues.
Sure.
But you show me somebody who's handled their own issues and taking responsibility and accountability, that is
Hmm.
so much more attractive
Yep.
than a person who has been completely damaged on the inside by either internal or external circumstances. And the only way she or he actually created healing from that is to get bigger muscles or a bigger ass.
Mm.
That will never, never last in a long-term relationship.
Mm. Right, because at that point, it comes from insecurity. It doesn't come from a place of security, like you feel good about yourself. It's because you feel bad. They feel like, well, I need to get a jacked body, or a woman's like, I need to have bigger boobs, bigger butts, so guys will notice me. And like it just leads you down a very negative self spiral, and it's not a good place to be. Um and I agree with like the accountability piece, because I think like the reason that hookup culture is so freaking popular and so like pushed on society is because there really is no accountability with that. It's very, all right, I'm gonna smash this person, never talk to them again, ghost them, whatever, whatever. It's not a lot of responsibility in that. And I think it's it's just it's so common in especially younger generations like my generation, or like guys that are in their 20s. Um, we're just conditioned to not take responsibility. And like that's very easy to just like hook up with a girl and then never talk to her again. But then like what does that reflect on the guy? Like, is he attracting that type of girl who is into that because he's showing something that those women are into? So again, I think you're right. It comes back to that reflection of like, who are you and how are you attracting that type of person?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and that was kind of a lesson that I learned in myself is like
Yeah.
you want mentally stable people
Right.
because around your life, and this goes again with choosing a partner or when you're dating, you want somebody who's like has that grasp on their own life and their own feelings, on their own like insecurities,
Hmm.
because you will absorb that energy.
Oh yeah.
You will definitely wake up and like, okay, you know what? My life 6 months ago, I don't feel as like alive. I don't feel like with as much energy. What's been happening in my life lately? And you think and reflect back, like, well, you know what? I have been dating somebody who looks super hot but has a lot of issues, and I'm always finding myself that I'm catering to fixing her issues,
Mm.
as opposed to somebody who you're like dating and is feeding life to you. Hey babe, how's your page coming? Hey, how's your how's that new career path that you're looking for? Hey babe, you know what I mean? Just somebody just feeding life into you, into your soul, into your spirit.
Hmm.
Again, going back to like that, you know, picking a partner who just decided to go the easy route and put like butt implants, as opposed to a woman who actually like dedicated to like building herself. She's going to build the people around herself as well. And a man, of course, you want
Hmm.
somebody, you want a man that's going to like not only can see the potential, but that you can grow and build something with that potential and you're taking action towards that.
Hmm. It's so true. Like I think everybody has a certain level of potential, but like it takes that awareness of yourself to realize, all right, I got a lot of this stuff going for me. Or I have the potential to be this type of person or this type of man. It's just a matter of me taking action on it and going for it and doing it. So, and this is what really gets me tripped up with some of my clients, because like as a coach, if I see the potential in somebody, but they don't even see it in themselves, and that's a problem, because then that growth really can't take place until you can see it. So I want to touch on that for a second, like when it comes to realizing your potential, and really comes down to, I think, knowing your self-worth. Um, how do you think men can start to maybe recognize their potential or start to build some of that self-worth in themselves?
Yeah, this is actually that's a great question because it comes back to like reflection. So I
Mm.
honestly would gather two, three close friends, and you're gonna have to be in a state of you have to be in a state of frame that you're not gonna be shaken up by going up to a friend and be like, "Hey, Tino, I want you to tell me what areas of my life do you think I can do better in," and then just shut the fuck up.
It's true.
Or just tell me, "Hey, Tino, I want you to tell me, but if you know me a long time, what what do you see in me that like are my strengths?
Mm.
He's like, dang, well, Oscar, you know, you're captivating. It looks like you're working very hard on your projects. You're doing things like, okay, Tino, now tell me what areas of my life are my weakness. Well, look, man, the last 4 times that we try to hang out of those 4 times, 3 of them you flaked out. I think you're being inconsistent. And then I find out that you're actually just like, you just stayed home. I don't know, man. You've been playing. I've seen you online at 3 o'clock in the morning playing games. Like, and I just heard that you showed up to work late. But you have to shut the fuck up and just
Mm-hmm.
take all that feedback
Yep.
in, right? So if you can have somebody in your life that can like highlight your strengths and highlight your weaknesses and just come from a space of listening and then observing yourself, then you can like take that. And I wouldn't even say it's constructive criticism. It's just feedback, man. Even if you were to tell me something like, you come off as an arrogant asshole. I'm like, okay, well, that's some feedback.
Sure.
But you know what? and I can see how that in my area of my career that kind of made me like push me to like reach to my numbers. But I can also see like at home with my family, like I haven't been invited to the family barbecue. You know what I mean? So you can always take your feedback, and your potential lies within how people see you and how you see yourself.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree 100%. And like, no one's really trying to have that conversation, and that's the problem. It's like guys they don't want to look at themselves in that light because they just want to assume, hey, everything's good, I'm fine, like I got nothing to work on, I'm cool. It's very uncomfortable to have that type of conversation, but that's why it pays to have people in your corner that are going to give you that hard truth, that are going to tell you things that you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And it kind of comes back to that quote, right? Like, your network is your net worth, or the 5 people you surround yourself with. Like, it's so true. You don't want a bunch of yes men in your corner that are just gonna like gas you up and tell you like, oh, dude, you're fine. Like, keep eating those Doritos, keep playing those games. Like, you'll be fine. You'll figure it out. Like, I would rather have a friend in my corner be like, bro, like, stop being fucking lazy. Get to the gym, work on yourself. Like, you're really slacking right now. Like, that to me is a real friend because I actually care about my own development. So super freaking important.
Yeah, and you hear about these celebrities, you hear about people who are like, in top positions who reach a level of success, and their
Yep.
downfall starts to happen when they're being surrounded by yes men,
Right.
right? So you have other people just agreeing with whatever it is that you're doing, not giving you actual, um, your feedback is not mimicking truth, but the
Mm-hmm.
word yes man is you being a yes man to you. Oh,
Right.
you know what? Like, I'll be all right, man. I'll be okay. Yeah, I think that's going to be fine. Next thing you know, you're like, dang, I haven't like added to my investment folder in a while. What's going on? How does that look like? And you look at it like, oh man, okay, well that's reflection on my body, man. You know what? I just gained 10 pounds. I didn't even realize it. And you're looking at the bag of Cheetos in the corner of your living room, like, well, that's you have to be you can't be the yes man in your life. Not everything is great. And that's a
Mm-hmm.
beauty. That's a beautiful thing in itself. Just because things aren't great, that gives you an element to build and create as a
Mm-hmm.
man.
Mm. That's a really interesting perspective that you said. Like, don't be a yes man to yourself. And I love the way you put that. Like, it's almost like in order to attract those kind of people that are going to give you that blunt, hard truth, the truth that you really need to help you improve, you got to start by giving it to yourself. I mean, you can't be blinded to your own, issues and act like everything's okay, like you're being delusional at that point. So, yeah, like how can men, I guess, start to maybe be some more blunt with themselves and be honest? And I guess maybe it comes back to what we were saying earlier about vulnerability, like expressing your own truth.
Yeah. So as kids or really through our academic career life, we've been given a report card.
Right.
Oh shit, I got a B on science, I got an A in math, I got a C in reading, right? There's always a point of reflection of like how you're performing in life. And this is interesting. This is actually I do with my own children.
Mm.
I tell them, hey, I want you to grade me. How have I been as a father? And when you can enlist that truth and give somebody safety of give me feedback in a safe space, and I'm not going to react. Like, how have I been as a partner? How have I been as an employee? How have I been uh, as a friend? Give me some feedback. Grade me.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll have my son. He'll say, he's like, you know what? It's like, I've noticed that when I feel sometimes that you make me do things that I don't want to do, and I can see why you're trying to make them do it. But I think sometimes you're coming off as a pushy person.
Mm.
So for me as a father, just to listen to that, I'm like, okay, our communication, there's a breakdown because obviously he's telling me that he's not being heard.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe my communication, I'm coming off as like a C or C plus, right? Because I still want to spend time with somebody. I want to spend time with somebody who I love, but they're not being heard. So apply that method of the report card with people around your life.
Mm. That's great. I love that idea of the report card, like giving that direct feedback of like, "Hey, how's my communication today? How's my um direction? Like, how am I showing up in this relationship or whatever it is?" I think that's great. I don't think a lot of people do that when it comes to reflecting on themselves and then, like, analyzing their progress. Because I think Elliot Hulse might have said this before, but what you measure grows. So if, like, you wanna improve your communication skills, for example, or you wanna get bigger muscles, you wanna be in better shape, you have to track that stuff. You have to track your progress, and one thing that I like to do, every week, like, I'll sit down, I'm actually gonna do this tomorrow. Every Sunday, I sit down and I have a list, and I write down the things that, "Alright, everything I'm doing well, and everything that I want to improve on." And like sometimes I have a really big list of what I write down, especially in what I want to improve on. But I think just simply having something that I can refer back to and review and look at and be like, "Yo, this is the stuff that I can make better." It just gives me that direction of like, okay, as I'm being honest with myself and I'm not holding back anything, this is what I can do. And even if you don't like fix everything right away, it at least gives you like a compass of where maybe some of that deficiency is.
Yeah. One of the best moments I've had in reflection is when I can admit to myself, and meditation is like a practice I do on a daily basis. And
Mm,
there'll be times where I'm like, you know what, I haven't meditated in a while, and
yeah.
I'll look back and reflect on my like certain circumstances in my life. I'm like, yeah, you know what, I didn't handle that situation very well, and I also notice I haven't been meditating because for meditation for me is to become the observer.
Mhm.
And when I become the observer myself, like, and this is probably one of the most like, it's a beauty in my life, is when I can say to myself, man, you know what, I've been sad.
Mm,
And when I can admit to myself that I've been sad, it gives me an instant like sense of joy.
mm,
Because if I can own my own sadness or own whatever disempowering feeling I've been not observing or really like facing, then it becomes mine.
it's true.
That feeling no longer has ownership over me. I have ownership of that feeling.
Mm,
And when I have ownership of that feeling, now I can manage it. I never like to use the word fix or change, right? You can fix a car, you can change a tire, but as a person, you're not going to fix yourself. You can manage yourself. So
mhm.
if I have the feeling of sadness that I've had from self-reflection that came from like having a moment to myself, such as meditation, journaling, or having a good friend just giving me my report card,
Mhm.
I can now take that. I can take that feeling and manage it. Okay, if I've been feeling sad, what can I do? What areas within me have I been disconnected? Have I been disconnected in my mind, my body, my spirit? Now I'm managing that sensation and that feeling, and with consistency and being disciplined and having the application to have it. And I'll use this point again, having your put on your tennis shoes and go out for a walk and jog or run. You're now taking that sensation and you've managed it to a different feeling. You might still have the area in your life that's creating sadness, but now you're managing your frame, which now you're facing that situation in a whole different way of being. Now you're managing from a sense of empowerment as opposed to a sense of like feeling defeated.
Mm-hmm. I love what you said there. Like you're owning that that deficiency or that emotion or that thing instead of it owning you. I say that a lot in my channel too, like taking ownership of it. And a lot of the times it can really take a ownership over us. It can take a hold over us because we're letting it, and like we're not even, number one, we're not aware of it, or we're just not putting in the effort to try to understand where it's coming from. So super freaking important. I try to meditate as much as I can as well. Um, the times that I don't, I notice sometimes like my focus is like all over the place and it's not very aligned or pinpointed at something. So yeah, meditation is a huge one. I try to promote that a lot on this channel. I think it's a great tool to start building self-awareness, especially as men. Um, I guess to kind of close it out as well, because I think we're getting at the top of the hour here, so we can kind of wrap it up pretty soon. But when it comes to acknowledging some of these things, and when it comes to like taking ownership over your weaknesses, deficiencies, emotions, whatever they are, just things that are maybe obstacles in the way, what would you say is um, a major key takeaway that men can do to start being the owner of those things instead of them owning you?
As a man taking ownership,
Mm-hmm.
at times we don't want to face the things in our life because we don't want to feel, we much rather avoid the feeling of pain.
Yeah.
So we start to numb or sedate ourselves, either scrolling through our phone, picking up a vice, alcohol, even being prolonged video game playing. But taking ownership of yourself really comes from like whatever it is that you're gonna face or that you're avoiding facing. I think is just saying to yourself, all like one of my mentors, would say, all is well.
Mm.
All is well.
Mm.
Because you're gonna take off all that weight off your shoulders, knowing that everything is like all is well. Now you can like face whatever it is that you need to face, even if it's one small little act. If it's one like your first time checking in at the gym, if it's just like even going through your finances to see what parts of your finances have you not been like dedicating like towards growing, or even in your job, like even if you are avoiding certain elements in your relationship. Like even if you're like a lot of guys end up being in relationships longer than they should have because you're avoiding the pain of being alone.
Mm-hmm.
So when you can take like ownership of who you are as yourself outside of the relationship you're in, outside of like your career, outside of like any vice that you have or how you're numbing yourself, the ownership comes in and how well you connected to your mind, your body, and your spirit. How well you connected to like your fitness, your journaling, your self-talk. What brings, what ignites you? Like again, I'll make this reference. Like getting on my motorcycle connects me to myself. Like, or even
Mm-hmm.
going out for a run, that's connecting to my spirit.
Yeah.
All is well, man. All is well. Like as a man, you're built by, what if you want to believe in God, the universe, you are built to take on a challenge. That's why we're
Mm-hmm.
created here. Like we're created as men to lean into tension.
Yep.
That's what we're built for, man. Like, you want to. I'm not gonna bring in like the inequality of things, or things are being equal, but like, as a man, we're built to go ahead and withstand pressure.
Mm-hmm.
That's just knowing that is gonna change everything.
Mm. Yeah, dude. Well said. I would second I would second that as well. I think that men are really just designed to withstand challenge and go through hardships and adversity. Like, we're built for it. And like most of the well, not even most of the time, all the time, that hardship is gonna make us into a better, more competent, more reliable, more developed man on the other side of those challenges. So that's something I always try to put into my own life and definitely promote on this channel here. So awesome conversation, man. I thought we really covered a lot of incredible subjects, and we had a lot of amazing gems. If you guys are just watching and catching the last few minutes of this, go back and check out the beginning of this. Run it back a few times because there's some amazing hidden gems in there that we talked about. I want to thank Oscar for hopping on the call, man. It was an awesome conversation. Where can people find you if they want to look into your social media, anything else you got going on?
Yeah, definitely. So with my page on Instagram right now, it's in take dot your power dot back 240, and the 240 is actually it's a 240 SX is a Japanese car that I completely like avoid building back when I was going through my hardship. So I still have the car. So it's a classic Japanese car, and I'm rebuilding it, and I'm documenting how I'm rebuilding it. Plus, I'm adding like it's content for men, really for anybody, but for men to like, if you're in a toxic relationship, or if you find yourself like, drowning yourself in a bottle, if you find yourself like in vices like porn, like these are things that I went through. So my Nissan 240SX, like I'm rebuilding it as I'm also sharing ways on how to build yourself as a man to take you and empower you and connect back to yourself. So take your power back 240 on Instagram. That's where people can find me.
Love that. Take your power back. Yeah, and if you guys want to, I'll leave the links down below too in the description, just to make it easier, or actually in the comment section, to find Oscar. And obviously, you want to get in touch with me, you know where the links are in my description. Hop on a call with me for a discovery call. Obviously, if you want to work with me personally, or you want to join my Facebook group, both of those links are down below. But that's pretty much it, man. I think we really went deep into this self-awareness, self-development talk. I want to thank Oscar again for hopping on. This was a pleasure to have him on, and definitely would love to do something in the future too.
Yeah, absolutely, Tino, man. Thanks again, man. Man, keep killing it out there, man. You're doing great, bro.
100%, man. I appreciate that. But all right, guys, if you like the stream, give it a thumbs up. Comment your thoughts down below and let me know what you think. And check back in next time. I'm trying to make this a weekly thing. Every Saturday at 11 a.m., I would like to go live and have a show, have a guest on, obviously like Oscar, so we can just go back and forth on different things. So make sure you tune in next time because I do want to make this a regular thing. But as always, if you're new here, subscribe, hit that notification bell, all that fun YouTube stuff. But catch y'all guys next week. Deuces.